Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Goldfish Report. I'm your host and researcher, Louisa. Today is Friday, April 23rd, 2021. This is Goldfish Report number 693, and it's a Dragon update, Dragon Geopolitics update with our returning guest, Ben Fulford. How are you, Ben?
Good.
Good to see you. The Red Dragon Ambassador, good to be with you.
Thank you very much.
And of course, my co-host, Steve. Steve, thanks for being here with me.
Yeah, good to be here.
Okay, so let's get started. It does look like from your report earlier this week, Benjamin, that the West is imploding. So it looks like there's a lot of things to indicate that. And of course, this war building up on the border of Ukraine and Russia. How is this going to impact what's happening in the United States? Ultimately, it looks like they're dragging us into war. What do you think?
I think it's saber rattling and there won't be war, to be honest. They've done this so many times, it's like crying wolf. But it's sort of like they're saying, hey, if we're really, if push comes to shove, we'll use our war card. But I don't think it's going to come to that.
Yeah, because mutual annihilation, like the MAD, doctrine, it would be ridiculous for anyone to start, right? Okay, Ambassador, what's going on with this financial reset? It seems like it's taking, I know there's things going on behind the scenes, but when are people on the surface? In fact, isn't today in the biblical date a significant date regarding a debt jubilee?
Yeah, but you see, it's supposed to start yesterday, this night. But at the same time, it's supposed to start. I was on the phone, and a missile hit the American base there at the Baghdad airport.
Yes.
And so I don't know what happened after that. I'm gonna find out later. But that what was going on. The same thing, you had the nuclear missiles going against the nuclear facility in Israel. You had the attack by the Israelis against the Iranian nuclear installations. You have problems with Ukraine, and you have problems with Biden trying to sell arms to Taiwan, which China would never accept. You understand? And you have a missing submarine there going down in Indonesia and Bali. And so it's a lot of things happening right now. And it seems to me that they're pushing Russia and China closer to each other than ever before. And, it seems like the Zionists are trying to push America into a war with Iran. You understand? And that will, if they do that war at the same time with Ukraine, and then I think it's the final shots for the North Atlantic terrorist organization.
Right. Well, what about, so while all this is happening, what about the economy is starting to take a hit. The stock market obviously is starting to drop. It's just really not good. It's very unhealthy. It's really kind of like on life support, isn't it? The economy in the United States.
Yeah, but you see, the economy for restart needs to be crushed and then build up from the ashes.
Okay, get it. And what's that?
And the funds and the assets to build up the world, a new form of Marshall Plan, but this one time an international one being taking place. It's in plan and it will be taken. But before that, we need to submit this, the evil ones from this place of the planet. You understand?
Yeah, Benjamin, what do you think that event is going to look like that's going to bring down the financial system then in order to restart?
Okay, a lot of stuff has already happened. Like, people on the ground are saying, I now have friends who confirmed that there's nobody at the government building in Washington State, none in Sacramento, California government, none in the Arizona government, and nobody in Washington, D.C. So the United States political system has ceased to exist. All you have are stuff, a story being spun out on screens. And now you've just had the U.S. Congress or whatever is pretending to be the Congress saying that Washington, D.C. would become the 51st state. In other words, it's no longer the administrative region for the United States. So it is happening. And but again, what people need to understand is that the financial system is psychological at the end of the day. So, I've said this before, but if the stock market went to zero and the dollar disappeared, okay, you'd still have the same people, the same buildings, the same know-how. Everything would be the same, except that the way we think about it, the way we organize ourselves would change. Um, a lot of countries have been through this many times, like in Argentina, they've done it a lot of times. So they no longer get too freaked out about it. But the important thing to remember is that reality isn't going to change. It's just the imagination about reality called the financial system that's going to change. But we need to remove the magic wand where they put money in computers and say, okay, this is $1 billion. Now you got to do what I say, from the hands of these evil people. And instead, it's got to be like a human consensus to say, okay, we've all talked about it, and this is what we're going to do next, and this is how we're going to allocate our energy. It really is. It's about deciding what we as a species do in the future. And but we do have to crash the old system first, and that is happening. It's visible. Um, and the last resistance, what's happening is in the United States, the Rockefeller family and their West Coast oligarchs are able to pump up the stock market with their share of the financial system, which is limited to the inside of the United States. Um, and so, for example, they're boosting up the price of Tesla so that it's worth 5 times more than Toyota, even though it sells 1/16 the amount of cars.
Correct. Yeah.
And they're at the dead bottom of the JD Power's initial quality list, whereas Toyota's right at the top. So you can see they're laundering money through this company. So
Yep.
that's the final resistance. It's the control of the Fortune 500 company management. When that's gone, then we can start building anew.
My question is that it seems to be that, of course, it was announced in the Cabal publication, The Economist, in the 80s, the phoenix rising from the ashes with the new world currency and all. It's been planned a long time. Is this a controlled demolition controlled by them, or is this a free fall collapse that's inevitable anyway? Anybody can chime in.
The controlled demolition, by my opinion.
Yeah.
It's controlled. Okay.
I think that what has happened was that, in a very fundamental level, the more than 50% of the world's economy and population and financial resources shifted to Asia, right? So the Asians at a fundamental level said, hey, okay, we're no longer just going to obey you. We have to come up with a new deal. And that's what's been driving all this. So there's negotiations at a high level. There's a mutual interest to make sure that this happens in an orderly way. And, the idea is to have not the Asia take over from the West, but 50-50, equal partnership. And that's what's being negotiated. So it is a controlled demolition. And there are a lot of high level people within who want to make this a better planet, who are trying to make sure that this happens smoothly. And I was told quite a few years ago that they couldn't just do it overnight, like just suddenly announce, okay, everybody, that's it, that it would be spun out over several years. And if you look back, you can see a lot of stuff has happened.
What about, Ambassador, what about this ISO 20022 regulation that's this blockchain technology, this regulation regarding transfer of funds, international transfer of funds using the blockchain? Do you know about that? And what can you tell us about the digital currency that may be a foundation for that?
You see, you have two different type of digital currencies. You have let's say state-owned digital currencies, like the digital yuan, you understand, and other type of currencies. This one's is something we will see, but I believe that many of these self-made Ponzi schemes will disappear. Will be taken forcefully out of the market.
You mean Bitcoin?
For example.
Exactly. Steve, did you have any, or Benjamin, did you want to comment on this crypto issue since this is up your financial alley?
Okay, basically, there is a part of it that's going to remain no matter what, because um, if a third party wants to assume that they can veto any transaction between two people, right? They can't. Okay, there's always going to be a way for two people to reach a deal without having to go through a third party, be it physical gold or some kind of crypto thing. Uh, there will always be a need and a physical reality that a centralized authority cannot control all, commercial interactions. It's just not going to happen. It's
Right.
mathematically impossible.
Right.
However,
Mhm.
great majority will be, through some kind of centralized system for sure.
Steve, you want to follow up on that?
Well, the ISO 20022 or 222, however you want to say it, is the messaging protocol of the new SWIFT system. They're upgrading the 40-year-old system to a new system that will be compatible with digital currencies, either CBDC, central bank digital currencies, or other, they call them wrapped tokens. You can wrap them onto another blockchain. So Bitcoin, I believe, will be outlawed because of its power usage. I think it uses as much power as the Netherlands already, and it will be outlawed, and that will be wrapped and placed onto another blockchain, either the XRPL or maybe the Binance blockchain. Any blockchain will do really, or the Flare network. So what's going to happen is, I believe that the phoenix rising from the ashes will be a digital currency. That's what from my research, that's what I understand. What that exactly means. Go on.
The ATMs here in my neighborhood in Tokyo already have all sorts of digital options, digital currency options already at the ATMs right now. So, for example, let me show you one.
Right. Well, Elon Musk announced that you can use Doggy Coin or
Doggy Coin. No,
Doggy Coin to
the meme
buy
coin,
his Tesla.
The meme coin. Yeah.
Here's one that's run by the
no Bitcoin. He said Bitcoin.
Japan Railroad, right? And you can basically put this on top of an ATM and charge it with money, and then you can use it directly all sorts of places, convenience stores, whatever. There's all sorts of stuff like that. There's also,
is 7-Eleven doing that? 7-Eleven?
Yeah, 7-Eleven.
Yeah. Okay. I heard about that. Yeah.
So that's one, and then there's a bunch. Okay.
There's a whole bunch. It's already there. Look, my question is that as with all wars, and I believe we are in a non-kinetic war basically right now. It's a financial war, using the COVID as the excuse to cause distress in the world. It's basically a war. The question is, who's going to have the keys to the new system? That's what the fight's about, I believe, ultimately.
So, Ambassador, do you want to answer that?
I think that it's already,
decided
who is having the keys for this thing. So I think it's just a desperation of taking back control and staying important. You understand?
Yeah.
And
what you were saying initially, Ambassador, about all the trouble in the world, the Ukraine or whatever, we are dealing with a remnant group of religious fanatics who just cannot accept any other version of reality than one that involves an Armageddon and the destruction of 90% of humanity, followed by the enslavement of the rest. And they're still trying to start. I got sent information by the Russian FSB about a US C-17 transport that had 3 nuclear weapons on board that just landed in the Ukraine. And I told this to the US White Hats, and they found 3 nuclear weapons there. They were planning to detonate them remotely and blame it on Russia and try to start World War III. It was for the umpteenth time, and they're going to be stopped every time, I guarantee you. The militaries of the world understand that destroying 90% of humanity is not an option, and they're not going to let it happen.
What do you say about that, Ambassador?
No, I agree. I think that this is what my call was from the beginning, is that we need to take a deep view of ourselves in the mirror and take personal responsibility. And that includes all people. And if we do that and not cooperate, then the cabal will have the power. We are empowering them by our silence,
That's exactly right. Who is funding Elon Musk? Who is funding him?
The cabal,
Well,
of course.
The cabal.
Direct the question to somebody. It would be helpful. They don't know who to answer.
Oh no, anybody can chime in. Yeah.
it's
Ambassador?
the federal, or ambassador, sorry.
Federal Reserve.
No, I
Okay.
believe it's the cabal that is funding him. I think he's
Benjamin?
a cabal pop.
Okay.
Let the ambassador finish.
Yeah, correct.
Because just otherwise they would never give him access to space and to all these things or whatever he's doing. If he was not one of them, then they would not allow him to do what he's doing.
Makes sense.
Okay, and what about the?
Can I
Go ahead,
say
Benjamin.
something
You go
about
ahead.
Musk?
Let Benjamin go.
Please, Benjamin.
Here's the thing, okay? The money, the faction inside the United States, okay? They still have the ability to make dollars inside the United States, and they are using that to give cash to everybody and to pump up the stock market. And there's evidence for this. So it's the faction, and I believe this is basically the Rockefeller family at the top still, according to MI6. Hillary Clinton is actually in charge of this Biden show, even though I thought she was dead, but whatever. That's what I'm hearing from my direct intelligence sources. But you can tell, and I want to repeat this: the U.S. dollar is not American, but there is an American version of the U.S. dollar. All right, a friend of mine went to the Ukraine recently from the United States, and he changed some U.S. dollars for Ukrainian currency. When he went to the bank, he saw 2 piles of U.S. dollars. Okay, and he said, "Why are there 2 piles?" And he said, "Well, these pile here, they go back to the United States. They're only for use in the United States, and these dollars here are for the rest of the world." The same thing happened to me. I had someone visit me from the United States. I changed some dollar cash for yen cash. I took these dollars cash to the local bank, Mitsubishi Bank in Tokyo, and they said, "We cannot exchange this. We cannot accept these dollars." They said it's because they're old dollars, but whatever. I took those same dollars to Canada and I could exchange them. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that the faction that's running this Biden show inside the United States can still pump money into Fortune 500 company stocks in the United States, and they can hand checks to American people inside the United States, but they cannot use those dollars to buy stuff overseas. For that, they have to borrow from the Chinese, and the Chinese are lending to them right now. That's why they were able to have a record trade deficit in February. Am I right, Ambassador?
Yeah, correct.
Ambassador, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I said correct.
Okay, well, this money, though, that was just included in this stimulus package, most of it was being sent overseas. So they are trying to fund, at least that's what it's saying on the surface of it in the bill. Lots of money for international aid.
I got an offer for gazillions of dollars. I'm sorry, that's not the exact number, lots. Okay. But the condition was I could only spend them in China.
Yeah.
And of course, I knew right away. Okay, this is from the people connected to Henry Kissinger. I said, okay, these guys are still trying to peddle their funny money outside the United States, and I just told them to buzz off. But this is what's going on.
Well, you know what, according to Forbes, back in 2014, you might recall this this article right here. Iran says tall white space aliens control America. So is this who's controlling the whole system? I mean, Edward Snowden had leaked these documents. So what happened to the story? Why did it disappear? These are also being supposedly responsible for the rise in Nazi Germany and so forth. I guess I just want to get real with the whole thing. I mean, when we're talking about charade, we might as well, Simpsons, the cartoon Simpsons was always very predictive, and they do have one episode where they kind of, pull the masks off of the so-called aliens on the, the town city hall steps. Probably recall that. What are we doing about this?
I have a story. Okay, Larry Ellison, who runs, the Oracle Group, is one of the tech billionaires. He tries to keep in the shadows. He sent a guy to me from the Pentagon, what is it called? Psychic Warfare Bureau, the men who stare at goats groups, who claimed to be
my lab. No.
He claimed to be one of those tall
Rand Corporation. Rand.
was Oracle. But anyway,
Okay.
he sent this guy who claimed to be one of these Nordics, but he looked like, some kind of German to me. All right, that's my own personal story.
That's
Okay.
That's thanks for sharing that. No, I mean, look, it's been said Snowden leaked it from the NSA files, and it's been written in Forbes, your former, employer there. Um, so, what do you think about Forbes ambassador? Do you have any comments on that?
No, I have no comments. I believe that these entities are not only in America. I believe that they are involved in other, in Russia and Iran for that matter too. I mean, the Iranians are flying saucers. That
Yeah.
they have reorganized or recaptured their technologies. So I think that something that we should not believe that we are alone on this planet. You understand? Or in this space.
Right, but
But
are
Yeah.
we do we is this a predator? We should know that.
if it's a predator, we'd already be sitting in a can on a shelf in some alien supermarket. Okay.
Well, you know what? 8 million children go missing a year, so perhaps that already is happening. And the only way to continue that to happen is to let us believe it's not happening. But the Evergreen ship has brought to attention a lot of this, whether it's true or not. The rumor is enough alone to ask the question, what's going on within the shipping containers in the whole shipping industry, knowing that
Correct.
the
Yeah.
majority of these shipping containers are not inspected. Are these inspectors being paid off to close the turn? I've seen photos of the, tons of people sitting out on the ships in the middle of, someone took the photo from the ship and the doors are open and the people come out. So, there was reports, and even though it's unconfirmed, I'm not reporting it as it's a fact. I'm reporting it as, is this something that could be happening? That is this going to be a kink in the new Silk Road ambassador? What do you see?
No, but it has been going on for years and years and years and years. I mean, this is not a new thing about people being in cargo ships. You understand? It was during the Vietnam War they were using cargo ship to smuggle out refugees to Europe and to other parts of the world too. Yes, and North
Right.
Koreans they're going also in cargo ships and stuff like that. So you know, this is not a new thing. But if they're organized for human trafficking through this cargo ships, I don't know. Human trafficking it is. It's moving people from one place to another,
Okay.
and I
Look,
think that
as
yes.
far as the Evergreen is concerned, okay, it's a cargo ship. They're like all these boxes, and all the world's cameras are watching. And if it was that cargo ship, you'd have to see giant cranes lifting these boxes, moving them, and then taking them down and opening them, and they would have been there for everyone to see. So I think that's a bit of a red herring with that particular ship. But of course, I mean, people, if you're living in a country where you only earn $500 a year, and you can get to some first world country and you can live like a millionaire and support your whole family back home, you're going to try to get in. And that's been going on. Of course it is. But
Yeah.
apart from that, what you're saying about people missing, the one I confirmed is the FBI statistics. 400,000 children go missing in the United States every year. Of those, most are found within a few days, but 40,000 vanish forever. And that's 20 times the rate normally seen in places like, equivalent countries like South Korea. So, yes, a lot of children have disappeared, and I think they have been used for either adrenochrome production or for sacrifices or something. But
Right.
that's the dark secret that they're terrified of us finding out, and they're fighting literally for their lives to prevent us from finding, the public at large from knowing what they've been doing.
Right, and it looks like General Flynn, Lynn Wood, and Mike Lindell are starting to make that. They're making these rounds where they're kind of. I think it's pre-disclosure, pre-declass of some of this information. They're trying to kind of go to these faith-based groups and have these, basically red pill people in terms of, introducing these concepts. So when the facts come out, it's not going to be quite as It's going to be difficult for everybody. The photos that you see of children who have been satanically, ritually abused are you can never unsee them. You can't, they're seared in your memory and you
It's
can't
horrific. Yeah.
forget that. It's horrific. But it needs to stop for sure. And although that, you know, they were funding this with illegal operations and things of that nature. But what about the cause of the ambassador? What do you know about how did that huge, gigantic ship get wedged in that canal? Was there some sort of operation going on, or do you know, or would you suspect that there was some interference with the navigation system of that ship? Because it seems that that's pretty significant that any ship that size could have that kind of interference. But although we do know that the Russians did that to the USS Donald Cook, they completely, with their Aegis system, they completely, do you remember that report, Benjamin, where they completely disabled that large military ship? So why not a shipping ship, you know, a container ship, right? And for what purposes? What do you think was do you think it was a sabotage, or
Well,
do you?
I'd like the ambassador. Ambassador, do you have any information about this ship?
No, actually not. I have received information about it, but I didn't pay attention because the main thing what I see it is as it was a financial hit type of thing. You understand? And to block the canal and to promote, other solutions to, the future Silk Roads and stuff like that. But who did it? If it was a sabotage, or if it was an accident, or if it was, purposely done, and if it was people inside, because they feed a lot of information, and when I get information from different sources, if I cannot verify it from 2 or 3 sources the same story, I don't do it.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? I will not get into it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not the right person to answer the questions about this particular boat.
Okay.
I have a question for the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Hold on. Let Ambassador.
Yeah,
Okay, Benjamin just needs to finish. Okay, thanks, Steve.
All right, look, I don't have special inside information on this Evergreen thing, but there's a couple of things that we do know. It blocked the Suez Canal for a week. This affected mostly Asian trade with Europe. It didn't affect the Americans. So if you look at who would benefit, you can see that. The other thing is that Evergreen was the Secret Service code for Hillary Clinton. I've confirmed that. And the other thing you can confirm is where there was a Turkish television report where they took credit for it. And remember, there was also an Evergreen truck blocking the largest highway in China at the same time. And they said that it was done to stop some kind of planned massive environmental event that was supposed to be done by the global warming people. And someone saying, no, we're not going to let you do that event. And then immediately after that, the European Union sent 2 presidents, I forget, one for the council, whatever, and to meet Turkish leader Erdogan, and he had only 1 chair. So it was like a major insult. That's all I know about it. But clearly something was stopped by that event. And I think it was a global warming disaster plan that was stopped.
Okay, Steve, go ahead. You had a question.
Yeah, look, we discussed this last time about the Kristalina Georgieva, what's her name, Christine Lagarde from the ECB now. They all talk about the new Bretton Woods, and that's inferring that there's some sort of gold standard, gold-backed currency coming to the cabal. Now, my question is, officially, there's 180,000 tons of gold in existence. And then you hear rumors that there's much more gold. I mean, Ambassador, can you tell us, is there more, like in the Philippines or Taiwan or wherever, is there much more gold than this 180,000 tons?
Yeah.
Ambassador, your connection is a little bit
500. You hear me better now?
That's
you hear me better?
Yeah, that's a little bit better.
Yeah. No, if you say that, I think if I was not wrong, when I was watching it, that they have off ledger gold in Egypt.
That's right.
That is 500,000 metric ton. Okay.
Okay.
And
that's much
Albania, more. Yeah, Albania
had 30,000 metric tons, for example. You understand?
Off ledger.
Now,
Off ledger.
now,
Yeah.
yeah, off
Yeah.
ledger, yeah. So the thing is this way, that when you look at it, it exists more gold than what has been said, but because the cabal wants to control the gold market and the economy market, they
Yes.
are not exposing it. I have seen a storage facility with more tungsten, which you can
Yes,
make
fake
fake
gold.
gold.
Yeah.
More tungsten that exists on the face of the planet, supposedly.
Yeah,
Okay.
just ask Neil Keenan. Okay, did you want to comment on that, Benjamin?
Yes,
Benjamin?
I've been following this gold story for more than a decade. I've flown to the Philippines, to Korea, to all
Yeah.
sorts of places. Nobody's been able to pass a simple test, which is they take one of today's newspapers and photograph it in front of the gold to show me it exists. I don't have to see it myself, but nobody has. And I talked to a Japanese man he was the head of a large financial institute. And when he retired, he spent 20 years with Japanese military maps searching for gold. Yamashita gold. And in that entire 20 years, all he saw was a total of 1 ton. I talked to some Yakuza Japanese gangster gold smugglers, and they said they were doing like 30 kilograms a day. Okay. So nowhere have I seen the kind of millions of tons that the cabal talks about. But the thing is, okay, here's what's going on for sure. They print out all these trillions of dollars, right? And then you say, well, how can you? What's backing this? Is there what is it? And they say, oh well, there's these zillions of tons of gold in these caves in Indonesia. That's what's backing it. And then you go to find the proof, and you can't. And then the one case that we did follow, this was in the British Parliament. Lord Blackheath brought it up. It was a Johannes Riyadi, who was an Indonesian royal, signed over the rights to 700 tons of gold. And that was used by the Federal Reserve Board to create 750,000 tons of gold worth of gold-backed bonds. And that was the $23 trillion they used to get themselves out of the hole they fell into after the big crash of 2008. That's a well-documented case. So there is a lot of off-ledger gold, but these stories are mostly BS stories by the feds to justify they're creating money out of nothing by saying, oh yeah, well, actually, there is gold for it, don't worry. And it's just a story, because the one documented case, 700 tons of gold became 750,000 tons of gold-backed bonds.
So basically what you're saying, Benjamin, is that if they do implement the IMF, of course, that's Kristalina Georgieva, if they implement a gold standard or a gold-backed currency, basically without an independent audit, that's basically BS.
Yeah, they need an independent audit. And the other thing is, okay, I have a problem with gold, all right? And here, with for the people who have the golden rule is he who has the gold makes the rules.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. And gold is a yellow metal that you can't eat at the end of the day, all right? This is, for example, Perrier water. I can drink that. It's actually worth more to my human life than gold.
In the desert, that's right.
In the desert, yeah. So it has to be back to things that really exist, all right? It doesn't have to be gold. I think that the new system should use a basket of commodities to back the currency. But
oil, diamonds.
It has to be backed by reality, because otherwise you end up with waste at an astronomical scale. I think Elon Musk, they're trying to make money out of nothing, and he's trying his best to create a real industry out of it, but it's so slipshod compared to car companies that actually have to pay for their factories with money they already earned by selling cars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Ambassador, let me ask you to weigh in on this, because I know that you had some other messages that you wanted to convey today. You had asked to kind of pull this together. Did you want to, first of all, comment on what Benjamin said about the basket of currencies, the basket of assets?
Commodities.
The basket of assets, Ambassador?
Yeah, but that's what is coming, is the basket of commodities, because many countries doesn't have gold anymore.
Yeah,
and so the economy would be completely traumatized if they would go to a gold standard. you know.
And what did you want? I know your message today was by telling people to get out and do things for themselves. Give me some idea of what you're talking about. Be specific.
No, basically the thing is this way: is that we need the people who, not consent, silently consent.
Your internet is breaking up.
That me?
No, the
No,
ambassador.
the ambassador.
Something very weird. Something very weird has happened, and I'm trying to find out what happened with my my internet.
Hold on, ambassador.
Just do something that people can do.
Oh,
Go and buy a silver coin. And I don't work for any silver company, okay? I'm not advertising. I'm just saying that this is like for $20 or something, you get actual physical silver. And at the end of the day, they did a study. And way back, like several thousand years ago in ancient Babylonia, the amount of grain you could buy with a certain amount of silver is the same as today, okay? So if everything falls apart, you'll be able to use that and get food for your family, okay? And that's not, you don't have to be rich to buy a few silver coins. Okay,
that's a good point, though, Benjamin. It's a good point.
Good advice.
But get the actual physical thing. Don't get a piece of paper.
Right. Ambassador, could you just finish what you're saying? What can people specifically do that you're talking about? What's your message today?
Well, basically very simple. If someone tells you to go and fight a war, you understand? You basically don't do it. If someone tells you to arrest a person who is not supposed to be arrested, you don't do it. If it's a person that should be arrested, you arrest him. You understand? Even though it's might be not politically correct to do it. You understand what I mean?
Right. So
and I think it's time for a silent world global lost revolt against the cabal. You understand what I mean?
Right. Don't consent. Stop consenting. That's
Yes. Stop silently consenting, because this is the problem. People are not consenting to many of these things, but they think they can do nothing. Another thing is they think that someone else should do it for them.
Yep. Silence is
we
consent.
have to take exactly. Silence is consent.
Yes.
So
correct.
basically, we are part of the system, and this is what people hated with me when I came out, because I was saying that stop blaming others than yourself.
Responsibility.
And this is very and that is basically a very important message, because right now in this fight we are gaining power and we are gaining the possibility to set up what we need to do to help humanity. You understand? And then we need good people in on our side supporting. You understand? And this is like, for example, in the battle that we've been doing, we've been having people in the Global Mission of Peace that have been helping and supporting the cause. You understand? And these people, maybe they have not been out doing certain things, but they've been supporting the people that has been out. You understand? And I think this is a very, very important thing, that we need to stick together, work together. And, for example, if Benjamin has something very good, and he needs assistance, then we will have no problems to assist him with that. You understand what I mean? This is what we need to do.
Right.
But then you have this type of greedy people and leprechauns that saying me, I, me, I all the time. You understand? And I have a unique DNA, and because of my unique DNA, I'm supposed to control the world.
Yeah.
I'm a money launderer, so because of that, I'm entitled to be the leader of a new financial system with my fake doctor degree, and so on and so on. But this is the world which we're looking at. This is retardation.
Yeah, and so what you're saying though is that so where you can make an impact, do so, and do it as if your life depends on it, and if your future and your children's future depend on it, because it does. So what General Flynn is trying to say to everybody in his roundabout messages is, get out there, and if you don't like, the people in your city council, go run and replace them, get them out of there. If so forth, right? So it's like you need to step up and realize that if you want you have to be the change that you want to see. You can't be lazy. You really have to put your blood, sweat, and tears into rebuilding the world, because our future is dependent on it, unless you want our kids to inherit a pile of rubble is basically what their future is, right, Benjamin? Go ahead, Ambassador, finish. Sorry, Benjamin.
Also, one thing that is very important is that in the United States right now, with this Black Lives Matters and LGBTQ movements, okay, they have professional international demonstrators coming from abroad. During the pandemic crisis, they have amazingly foreign professional demonstrators who knows how to fight, know how to use weapons, and totally give a shit about the United States and Americans on the streets fighting.
Right.
Wow.
You understand?
Yeah. And they're coming in through the southern border, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. I don't know if they're coming in from the southern border, because these people are white people. You understand?
Go ahead.
So
hold on.
They supposedly, what I heard is that they have a lot of Ukrainians, for example, in America.
Wow.
Suddenly, right now, that is doing it, and the southern border, maybe they have that too. But I know about the Ukrainians, so we have to wake up and not accept this deception that they have. It's. But we need to take back our streets. We need to take back our governments, and we need to take back our world.
Right. Benjamin, did you want to comment?
All right. Now, I want to talk about Ontario, Canada, because the Premier Ford suddenly calls for extreme martial law, and he wanted to stop, lock people in their houses completely, and threaten people with jail if they didn't do that. Now, his brother was almost certainly killed by these people, by the cabal, and there was a look of unnatural fear in his face when he made this announcement. And out of the 45 police stations in Ontario, 39 said, no, we're not going to do that. And that the whole thing blew up, and they're trying to erase it from the media. But here's the point. If you're in law enforcement, if you're in the military, remember, you serve the people. And what they're doing is they're threatening and blackmailing the very tip top of the power structure. And they're the ones who are the source of the problem. So if they're doing something unnatural, you can assume that they're either being blackmailed or bribed if they're acting in a way that doesn't make sense, and you must not obey them, and don't act against your own people. Okay, listen, I've got to go now, but Ambassador, we'll get in touch, okay?
Yeah, we do that. No problem. Take care of yourself.
Benjamin, before you go, I wanted to ask you your thoughts about the Raul Castro stepping down as the communist leader of Cuba. Do you have any comments, or is there something at play here that we don't see?
Well, I don't think so. My father was stationed in Cuba immediately after the revolution. My mother was a friend of Che Guevara. I lived there when I was a baby until I was 3.5 years old, immediately after the revolution. And all I know is that my parents went there as a kind of free thinking with a favorable impression, and they ended up, leaving rather in disgust at what they saw. A lot of people put in concentration camps. However, I can't say this about Castro's Cuba, is that only Cuba and Bhutan are the only two countries on Earth whose economies are in balance with their natural world. But I think that the Castro era is ended, and it's ended peacefully, and that's a good thing. And I wish the people of Cuba the best, and I hope that they have a good future.
I wanted to ask you because, of course, of the incredible, remarkable resemblance between Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Fidel Castro, but that's another story.
Look, he is the son. He is the son of Fidel Castro. There's no doubt about that. That's well documented. He is a Manchurian candidate. He almost certainly murdered his brother, and he took over Canada as part of a Jesuit communistic agenda. There's no doubt about that. I can prove that in a court of law. You want to sue me, Castro or Trudeau, as you're calling yourself, go ahead, because I'll win. All right, bye.
All right, Benjamin.
Thanks,
Good to
Benjamin.
see you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Benjamin. Ambassador, did you have other comments or any? Did you want to comment on the well, it's nice that Benjamin brought up, yes, that it's a peaceful dissolution of the Castro, the hopefully of communism. We don't know what's going to happen now, whether it's just going to be, replaced with another form, another dictator. But what do you see happening down there with that?
No, I hope that it's finalizing this way, and I hope that we in the West would do the same. You understand? It's time now to us to, stop being puppets and sheeps and go out as dragons and just slay these people. You understand?
Right.
And get rid of them, because we don't need this tyranny anymore. We have a planet to save. We have our children, and like I stated in the old days, is that what I'm gonna tell my child. You understand? And this is very important. And at least we did something to change the world, and that is what we need to do. This is what we need to continue to do.
Correct.
Is to do this struggle and try to save humanity and save the world for our children, and try to stop this international communism system that is so-called pandemic is implementing all around the world. Right now, we're living under international communism type of regulations.
Yes.
You understand? In some cases, it's maybe we could say it's a fascist tyranny. You understand? Mm-hmm. Not communist tyranny, but it's a fascist tyranny, but it's tyranny.
Sure.
You understand? And
medical dictatorship.
Yeah.
That's just an excuse they use to control people.
Right.
Yeah. And the scaring the people with fearing, putting fears in them so that they give away their freedoms.
Yeah.
And the small freedoms that we had left after 9/11, they are now removing it with the so-called pandemic.
Right.
And, what can we do about this vaccine passport? Yeah.
This is something they're gonna force people that is traveling and moving to take vaccination. If you don't have vaccination, you can travel. You understand? And if they're gonna put, like they do here, extreme fees for taking the corona tests, so that it will be financially,
crippling,
crippling for people that travel
that don't do it,
right.
that don't do the vaccine.
So they're gonna force people to take this vaccination, and
well, under the tyranny, though, at this point, I think you're right, Ambassador. We need to stop whining and complaining that it's not Disneyland anymore, because the riot has stopped. So the thing is to wake up from your, delusion or illusion, or our delusion and illusion that the world is what we thought it was. It's not, and it's being exposed. It's coming into the light of what's really happening, and that's the problem. I think people have this cognitive dissonant issue. This Saturday night, that would be tomorrow night, we're going to have Professor Jim Fetzer on the Goldfish Report on Ascension Radio. So you're going to want to tune into that. Look for our links to that on our Facebook page, on our Twitter, and our other Telegram pages. He's going to be talking about what's wrong with conspiracy theories and talk about all these different these issues that we're talking about today, and why people really have this cognitive dissonance. They just can't wrap their mind around the fact that there's people out there that want to harm them. Maybe they just want to put their head in the sand and not see it, but that perpetuates the problem. And there really is no gray area. You're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. Steve, did you have any other comments or questions?
Well, I was going to ask about the term level playing field, if the ambassador has maybe, I understand it as a type of Orwellian newspeak, and I have a certain understanding of what they mean, but maybe he has another idea. They all talk about it, the new level playing field. What does it mean to you, Ambassador?
It means basically to me, level playing field internationally, that means international tyranny. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's not the answer I wanted, but there we go. Yeah, it makes
because
sense.
this is what it is. This is what they
Yeah.
want to turn it into.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
They
One
want
world
us,
dictatorship. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
one
sorry.
world order under one tyrannical government.
Okay.
You know,
Right.
working on a level playing field.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Okay, so what do we do other than run for Congress, replace the members who are not representing the interest and the will of the people? The first thing is that people have to get over their delusion of Disneyland and really realize this is what's happening, that this is a form of Marxism or fascism, rather, as you're saying, Ambassador.
Whichever. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, take a pick, right? It doesn't really make any difference. What it isn't is freedom. So if we're not out there fighting for it, and we have to realize that this was a silent war, and that this war, this was a different kind of enemy that the United States and the world is facing, and it wasn't, as you said, Steve, a kinetic war. It's not, the people aren't necessarily dropping bombs, but they're doing it in different ways through psychological
Absolutely.
warfare is really what it is. And
Propaganda, brainwashing. Yeah.
the propaganda is the biggest problem, because too many people rely on and trust the news, the mainstream media. And President Trump did what he could do to tell people it's fake news. He did what he could, I think. I think he wasn't able to do a lot, but he also told people about hydroxychloroquine. He also told people about Regeneron. He also told people about UV light therapy and other kinds, other therapeutics besides this. But as you can tell, when the government doesn't give you that option, every Saturday I do a POTUS report, and it's never mentioned in any of Biden's COVID press briefings that there's ever any other alternative than
the same in Europe, the same all over the
vaccine.
world.
So that tells you right there that we have a big problem, because where is your free choice on the decision you make about what goes into your body? You know, it was convenient for the far left to say, when it came to trying to justify abortions, it was convenient for them to say, my body, my choice. What happened? What happened?
Exactly. The hypocrisy.
So it's propaganda, folks. You really have to understand that we have, in 2012, President Obama repealed the Smith-Mundt Act. Please look it up. The Smith-Mundt Act banned the government from using propaganda against its citizens. But in 2012, Obama repealed it. So propaganda is legal. Now, people are sleeping at the wheel, and they're not paying attention to what the governments are doing. The government's too big, and it wants to keep control. And little by little, it's taking our rights away. But just remember, when you give up that, the Second Amendment is the only one that guarantees the rest, at least in the United States, what I can say. How about some finishing comments? Because I have an announcement to make before I leave. But Ambassador, do you have any final comments or statements?
My final comment is very, very, very simple. Is that you have two options. Okay, tyranny or tyranny. Okay, or tyranny or less tyranny. Okay?
Tyranny or less tyranny.
This is what our government is offering us, and it's time to us to take back our governments.
Take back our government. Steve, what about you?
I can only agree, and the big thing with this pandemic is it's showing the people that are silent, the silent majority. They talk about the silent majority that's not saying anything. Even they may disagree with the dictatorial rules and the laws that are being put in place to control us. If you stay silent, then you are accepting, and you will play a part in the dictatorship that's about to happen if we allow it. So we have to stand up, and we have to make our voices heard. If you do agree with what we've just been talking about, that's very important.
We have to all do it together.
Yes.
If we allow them to divide us by the color of our skin, then it's our own fault.
Yeah. And also civil disobedience is necessary, as the ambassador said today. If you find that the laws aren't just, or that you are a policeman, you're going to arrest somebody that you find that it's absolutely illegal, that what the government has ordered you to do, don't do it.
Yeah, it's your
That's simple as
it's
that. It's
because
your choice.
the police have their own families that will be impacted by it too.
Not
So
everybody's in agreement.
you have to come, yeah, you have to realize that even though that may be your job, we're gonna your consent to you know, arresting people. I saw what they did in the UK to this one woman, an older woman, you know, who was basically showing up in Germany. This is in Germany, where she was protesting being, you know, the lockdowns and things, and they body slammed her on the ground and arrested her,
Yes, yes, I saw that.
dragged her
Look,
off. What the hell's going on,
in
people?
one of the Viennese protests, I was here on the streets. The policemen, they don't hire the normal police. You know what they do? They hire special forces, and
Yeah.
there's a special troop that's trained to deal with protesters. So these people have nothing to do with the people. These are special units that they bring in, because the normal policemen wouldn't do it. So what they do is they block these peaceful protests. They're banned anyway here in Austria. They block the people, and they provoke them in order to incite violence. Also, Antifa is there to as the agent provocateur. So they are there as well to cause problems. And I spoke to many people during these protests, you know, normal people. There's one, the policeman's son, and he completely gets what's going on. And he said his father gets it, but he said most of the police are very, as they do, they control us with the money. They've all got mortgages. They're afraid of losing their job if they speak out. So there's an enormous pressure that they can't do things. And I've spoken to doctors there that are
Right.
retired. And I told you the story that she told me that she used to work exactly in a major hospital here in Vienna, doing tests for viral and bacterial infections. And she said it's all the numbers are manipulated. She knew it already in February 2020. She was reading the papers. She said the language alone told her that they were manipulating everything.
Right. Exactly. So these are all big issues that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And so
We can't allow it
Ambassador,
to go on forward. Yeah.
we can't
Right.
allow it to happen.
Yeah.
Exactly. We've been warned. Did George Orwell not warn us? Okay. He was privy. Did President Kennedy not warn us about the secret societies and the guerrillas by day instead of armies by night? You know, we've been warned, and we'd be foolish to give up our freedom here in the United States, because what happens here is going to trickle around the world. And
Absolutely.
we really need everybody to rally around. If you're outside of the United States and you have friends or family who are in the United States, you need to get on the phone and you need to tell them to wake up, because what's going to happen here is going to trickle everywhere else in the world. And people need to take responsibility. They need to wake up and realize that the power is in our hands. It's not in there. It's not in the globalists' hands. It's in our hands. But we have to stop trusting them and realizing that this isn't for our best interest. They want to eradicate us from the surface of the planet, obviously. Yeah. Right. So,
anyway.
All right, let's wrap this up, because I do have an announcement before we leave. Steve, I'm sorry, Ambassador.
No, go ahead.
Any final comments, Ambassador?
No, it's fine. It's fine. Do you update?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that at this point, the Goldfish Report is in a major First Amendment legal battle, and this has to do with everybody's rights. And if quite honestly, anyone's First Amendment argument is everyone's First Amendment argument. If you're an American citizen, or any amendment, honestly, because either we have a constitution or we don't. And you really need to start waking up. People need to wake up and realize that if I'm not protected by the Constitution, then neither are you. So I ask everyone to please join me in helping support we need a legal defense fund we need to start to create, and we need to ask for your support to help us defend our First Amendment rights, because it's not okay for us to go to town hall meetings. It's not okay for us to go to public forums and ask for redress of grievance, literally, as it says in our Constitution, and then be targeted through the judicial system and have your family destroyed, have you financially bankrupted, and have your children, custody taken of your children. So if we're going to allow this to happen to anybody in our society, then shame on all of us. So I ask everybody, let's get justice. Justice for me is justice for everybody, because it's justice for the First Amendment. So please join me in helping support my legal fund. You can go to thegoldfishreport.com, and there is a PayPal button there. You can you can make a donation there. So I do appreciate everyone who does support the Goldfish Report. And I will be continuing to mention this, but we do have a major First Amendment battle on our hands, and we need your support. So that was my announcement. I
Right.
want to thank everyone for listening. Thanks to Benjamin, who's already left, but Steve, thank you for being here with me on
Welcome.
this important report. And anybody who wants to, and of course, Ambassador, thank you also for your time and your important messages today.
Thank you.
Okay, well, this concludes this edition of the Goldfish Report. We will be back on Saturday with Professor Jim Fetzer on Ascension Radio, and you're not going to want to miss this. So everyone have a great weekend, and this concludes this edition of the Goldfish Report.